The Lion King from a psychoanalytical perspective. The Lion King is a classic Disney film that premiered in 1994. As most Disney movies, it remains an influential film because of the lessons it teaches us about life and loyalty. In the movie, Simba is a cub born to Mufasa, the Lion King. Simba was always aware as a cub that one day he would inherit his father's title and become the Lion King himself. However, what Simba did not expect was for Mufasa to be killed before he was capable of occupying the title. The movie depicts Simba's internal and external struggles with his responsibilities of being king. During the movie, characters are introduced that either help Simba on his journey or aim to deter and destroy his chances of leading a harmonious and faithful tribe, for example, his uncle Scar. In the event that Simba could not fulfill his title, Scar would take his place, and Scar enlisted the help of hyenas to make sure that can happen. Throughout the movie, we experience Simba's highs and lows and his internal battle with self-discovery and self-assurance, as well as his external complications from those struggles. There are characters in the story that represent different psychoanalytical theories. For example, psychiatrist Carl Jung's theory of the collective unconscious and archetypes can be applied to some of the main characters. According to Jung's theory, everyone possesses a deeper level of the unconscious where experiences hold no merit. Instead, instinct is the leader factor in our actions and development. Furthermore, he believed, and I quote, "The collective unconscious is inherited, contained in the human brain structure, and is not dependent on personal experience to develop." Basically, what this means is despite our experiences, we all have natural innate tendencies, also known as instincts. Jung took his theory of the collective unconscious even further with the inclusion of archetypes. Archetypes, or primordial images as Jung referred to them, are similar in all people and function as psychic instincts that predispose us to experience the world in universally human ways. For example, we're all familiar with the term natural instincts. Jung's theory of archetypes is very similar to that belief in respect that certain actions come naturally without training or experience, and despite having no predisposal to experiences or people, we automatically make assumptions based on our instincts. For example, first-time mothers, the belief that all teachers are wise, our belief in spirituality, or a monkey's innate fear of snakes. There's no scientific explanation to explain these abilities or behaviors. However, Jung's theory, despite it being widely controversial and unsupported, can be applied to such experiences. A character that I believe embodies Jung's theory of the collective unconscious and archetypes is Simba from The Lion King. Simba was born into hierarchy as the son of Mufasa, king of the jungle. However, despite his birth status, he was often picked on by the other animals, especially after the death of his father when he was just a cub. Simba always knew that one day he would be king of the jungle, but what he did not expect was to be thrown into a position without any direction or duties from his father. It was not an easy road and it took him some time, but eventually Simba did become the leader of the Pride Lands and the well-respected king of the jungle. According to Jung's theory, Simba was able to overcome many of the obstacles he faced based on his archetypes. Jung describes the hero as one who conquers enemies and wins battles, associated with the internal psychic struggle to become an individual, relates to external battles with threatening forces in the world, often seen as weak but is in fact in touch with special forces that allow him to conquer his opponents. Now, Simba was raised by his mother and was not an aggressive lion by any means, which made his pride doubt his inherited leadership. Also, he felt guilt for his father's passing. He eventually felt he was not worthy of such a title and went to go live in the forest and recoiled to a life of solitude. However, when he got ear of his evil uncle Scar's degradation of his pride, he set out to right all the wrongs. Now, this is where Simba's collective unconscious and his exertion of archetypes comes into play. When Simba found out the distress his family and friends were under, he put aside all of those feelings of inadequacy and his natural instincts kicked in. He is a lion, and lions are known to fight and protect, which is exactly what Simba did. Untrained in combat and delegation, Simba was able to tap into his natural instincts and was able to overpower Scar and reform his dwindling tribe to the previous harmony it once was. The hero continues to confront the unconscious and emerges from it a stronger and more developed. In my opinion, Simba is a prime example of the hero archetype. Another character that I believe embodies an archetype described by Jung is Mufasa. Now, although Mufasa passed early on in the film, he takes on the role as a spiritual father. His instinctive qualities, such as to protect Simba during the stampede, saved Simba's life. Simba always looked up to his father for bravery and strength, and during moments in the movie when Simba was at odds with his intended life course, Mufasa would come to him and spiritually guide him in the right direction. The spiritual father is described as a symbol of bravery and strength, a role model, one who guides spiritually in the right direction and does not have to actually be physically present to make an impact on someone's life. Now, Simba believed he saw Mufasa in the movie. Now, whether Simba did see Mufasa or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that Simba believes he saw his father and will believe that his father is always looking out for him. There are two other characters in the film that play an important role, and those are Timon and Pumbaa. I'm sure even if you've never heard of the Lion King, you've heard of their philosophy, Hakuna Matata, which means no worries. Timon and Pumbaa are first introduced in the film at perhaps one of the lowest points in Simba's life. He's overridden with guilt and has run away. He believes he's inadequate to be king and he banished himself from the tribe. They stumble upon him and they sense his anguish. Timon makes jokes in an effort to cheer him up, and eventually they teach him the philosophy through song. Timon, in my opinion, resembles the trickster archetype. He is a simple-minded prankster who brings good results. The text describes the trickster archetype as someone who disrupts an order that has become sterile, and in doing so, they bring characters back to reality. Such is the case with Simba's first encounter with Timon. Now, like Jung, Sigmund Freud also believed that the unconscious has a powerful effect on thought and behavior. Freud believed that people are not driven by reason but by instinct, that in themselves are neither good or bad. For example, Freud believed that when people try to explain our behavior to ourselves or others, we rarely give a true account of motivation because humans, he believed, are great deceivers, especially in terms of self-deception. To explain our behaviors, Freud suggested that there were at least three levels to the mind: the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. The conscious level, we're aware and cognizant. The preconscious level, we may be unaware of certain material at the particular time, however, it can be readily brought to awareness. The third level is the unconscious level, which refers to mental processes in which the person is not aware. Such material remains in the unconscious, making it conscious would cause too much anxiety and therefore it is repressed. Freud took his theory even further by suggesting that the conscious and unconscious are at a constant battle with each other but remain guided by the three structures of our personality: the id, ego, and the superego. The id he described as the most primitive structure of our personality and the source of all psychic energy. It contains instinctive drives, much like Simba's innate ability to protect, and also functions according to the pleasure principle, which aims to satisfy, just like the satisfaction Simba gained from protecting his land and tribe. Simba's depiction in The Lion King is a perfect example of Freud's theory of eros, also the life instinct. The text describes ego as the most mature structure of personality. It resolves internal conflict, it copes with the external world. The ego can delay gratification, defend against anxiety, and uses defense mechanisms to adapt to reality. The ego continues to mature throughout one's life, and if it breaks down altogether, a psychotic episode can occur. This is similar to Simba's internal battle with overpowering his uncle Scar. He knows it would be for the best, but is hesitant due to his inexperience and the love he once had for him. However, he resolves his internal conflict and takes on Scar because it is in the best interest of his tribe. The last structure of personality, according to Freud, is a superego. Freud describes a superego as the structure of our personality that is the internal voice of parental and social restrictions, a civilizing force that tames our savage nature and believes it is the reason why we generate guilt when we break the rules. It's similar to our conscience. Simba encountered many occurrences where he might have been at odds with his superego. For example, a lion is a hunter by nature and an enemy of hyenas. Despite this, he was able to become friends with one hyena because she helped him. Now, he knew their friendship was forbidden, and therefore he felt some guilt for accepting her as a friend instead of an enemy. Simba battled with his uncle Scar also represents a conflict in his superego. He grew up loving Scar, he grew up loving Scar because he was his uncle, and therefore, despite Scar's actions, Simba remained hesitant about conflict with him. However, in accordance to Freud's theory, in the end it was the primitive nature of Simba's ID and his internal desire to resolve conflict, which comes from the ego, that guided Simba to save his family, friends, and land. The Lion King remains an influential Disney story that has continuously been remade and has even premiered on Broadway. The reasons behind the success of The Lion King are simple in the fact that we can learn many lessons from Simba's struggle through life. Analyzing the characters in the story from a psychological perspective has provided me with a great, newfound respect for the Disney classic.